that time of year. So.
We are live.
All right.
So we're making our second YouTube of the day. If you'd be so kind as to introduce us.
All right. We're the Greg and Donny News Show. As I said earlier, I'm the leftist agitator the Republican Party loves to hate. And my friend here, who'll be on in just a second.
As soon as I get the Facebook Live broadcast going. Yeah, and I'm your basic conservative, middle of the road, kind of average, not too opinionated. You know, try to sort of walk that fine path of mediocrity, so that I don't cause any more grief than absolutely necessary. All right, I got critters here on my Facebook thing. I'm trying to get rid of them. And so we might have to. Wait a minute.
Well, wait. That's what we're going with. You're just a regular Walter Cronkite.
Little technical details here. I'm trying to work out. And we have a person joining us. Hello.
There he is.
How are you?
Well.
I'm Phil.
What's your name?
Phil.
Hi, Bill.
Oh, Phil.
Well, Phil, what brings you here?
Donald's friend, and I.
Ah, okay. Maybe you can figure out my Facebook thing.
I also used to intern from Gaetz about a year or so ago.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So you know what? I'm going to start this again. So why don't you, if you want to, actually I'll be there. And all right. So here we go. Let me do a quick The Greg and Donny Show.
When we finally get that going, we got some good stuff.
Well, here's what I'm going to do next time. Next time, I'm going to start the this first.
That would be smart.
This is I'm learning.
Right. It's a process.
It is a process. All right, so let's get this going here.
All right.
So this is what I'm going to do next time. Is start this one first. In fact, I should explain it too. So this is our second video of today.
For those just tuning in, we're the Greg and Donny News Show.
You are?
Oh, I'm Donny T. West, godless liberal.
Greg Penglis, ace conservative. We got more people joining us here. So for all you folks kind of wandering by, we might actually have a live audience this time. So we do a conservative liberal news broadcast, and so that's what we're doing here. We're at the Fish House. Yeah. And it is really, first of all, the rain has subsided a little bit. It's quiet. We can actually get some talking in. So this is our second broadcast. We also are making YouTube, so don't forget to go to our YouTube channel, the Greg and Donny News Show YouTube, and you can subscribe, and that'll help us out a lot. As we build that up, we'll be able to live stream on YouTube, which is ultimately what we're going for. We're going to keep the Facebook Live broadcast. We also have the Greg and Donny News Show Facebook page, and so we should be broadcasting everybody on both things. Let's, second video of today, Saturday, at the Fish House here, with the rally of Ron DeSantis, Matt Gaetz, and Jim Jordan. First, Gaetz and Jordan running for Congress, and DeSantis running for Florida governor. And that's where we stand right now. Your turn.
So, go Andrew Gillum and Phil Ayer, first of all. Now.
Go Matt Gaetz and Ron DeSantis. Yeah!
I don't know about all that.
Okay, fine.
All right.
That's what we do here.
So, yeah, last week we left off at the end of the show talking about Kavanaugh, where we had to cut it off.
Yeah,
that's a good place to start here.
Yeah, it is. This is going to be really surprising for a lot of folks that tune into us regularly, because we actually agree on this.
For different reasons.
Completely different reasons. I had second thoughts. I took a look into it. I saw some videos from Judge Andrew Napolitano on Fox News, and I looked up some of his from the Mises Institute, which is a great economic think tank if you want conservative economics. In fact, I'd love to get them into Donny's college so they can give a really good conservative economic outlook. But anyway,
pretty interesting.
He's got problems.
Yeah.
So you have problems with him. And what are your problems with him?
So it's like I started to say last week. I think he's just going to be a massive enabler. I think anything
enabler in terms of what?
Anything Trump or any future Republican puts through, he's just going to be an enabler. He's said without saying that no matter what, he doesn't want anything with the current investigation we touched on in the last video to go through.
Which one, the Mueller investigation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in general, I think the guy's an enabler.
Yeah, see, I have a different take on him completely. From what I have learned, he's really the swamp candidate. He was put in at the last minute. There were other choices Trump wanted to make, and Trump was lobbied, unfortunately, by the swamp folks. And so they wanted Kavanaugh in. I see Kavanaugh as the new candidate, as the new swing vote. So I don't think he's going to be the conservative everybody thinks he is. I think he's being purposely put in because he's going to put the court back into a 5-4 swing situation all the time, and all the money's going to go to the court, and the attention is going to go to the court. It's going to be very divisive, and it takes the responsibility off the legislature because they don't have to legislate like they're supposed to. See, the courts have no power to legislate, none. if you look at the Constitution, it's very clear that Article 1 of the Constitution says that all legislative powers are invested in the Congress. Well, if all legislative powers are invested in the Congress, no legislative powers are invested in anybody else. So the courts can't make policy. So we're going to get a Roe v. Wade in a minute, but the whole point is that that's a policy. That's a piece of legislation. The court had no power to do that. And I see Kavanaugh, especially in terms of the Patriot Act and some of the other things I want to get into with him, he's a government stooge. He's going to go with, the same reason they didn't like Bork, by the way. And everybody says that Bork was a great conservative, and they talk about someone being borked, right? Being kicked off the thing. I didn't want him for the same reason. He believes much too much in executive power, so he's a Federalist, as compared to what I would be an anti-Federalist. I'm more of a Jeffersonian, Madisonian, limited government, do your job, get out. We didn't talk about with Brennan in the last time was term limits for bureaucrats. I want to bring that up now, but
before we do that,
that's a future topic.
Let me take my one cheap shot of the episode.
Well, you have to have one.
Yeah, of course. So, if
you're choking on it too, it's kind of funny.
I have a cold, by the way.
Donny's out here we're in the rain. Donny's got a cold, and he's out here doing the broadcast.
I wouldn't miss this show. I love you guys.
Dude, high five. Yeah.
But anyway, if Kavanaugh is this swamp creature, like you say he is, and Trump was able to be convinced of his abilities that easily, do you still have as much confidence in him as you did before?
Who?
Trump. He's supposed to drain the swamp, and he supposedly allowed the swamp in that easily. Is he still your guy?
He's still my guy. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes, and the biggest mistake is usually listening to other people. Okay, he listened to other people and put Paul Manafort on the campaign. Manafort was a disaster. He's always been someone that he lost for McCain. He lost for, I think, Mittens Romney. He's lost for a ton of congressional folks. He keeps losing. He's the most losing political consultant, I think, in American history. So Trump listens. When he listens to the wrong people putting Sessions on as Attorney General. He'll listen to some other things. But when he just goes on his own gut instinct, I think he does pretty well. I don't think he initially wanted Kavanaugh, from what I've heard. I think Brett Kavanaugh is a huge mistake, and I don't think he's going to make it. I think Rand Paul's going to vote against him. I think some other people are, because he doesn't follow the Constitution, due process, Bill of Rights, the protections that we have, especially in terms of things like the Patriot Act. He's much more in favor of executive power. So I will grant you this. You're right in the fact that he is kind of a government stooge, but I think he'd be just as much a government stooge for Obama enforcing the Patriot Act as he would for Trump enforcing the Patriot Act. I see that as a government versus the freedom of the people, not a Republican versus Democrat thing. We got one hell of a wild frog down there. So anyway, it's not the rain, it's the frogs. So that's Congressman Gaetz. Hey, you want to come on the Greg and Donny News Show?
I got a meeting first, but I think our business will be there.
Okay.
Right.
If you want to drop by, feel free. Almost.
Cool, Matt. Where?
Oh, so they're on a first name basis. I still call it Congressman Gaetz. But there we go. So this is some of the Congressman. He's like 50 feet away from us right now.
We're going to get him on the show one day.
Someday he's going to come on. But anyway.
Someday before Filler takes over.
Filler's not going to take over. Filler's interesting, and for a veteran, he's very liberal, and that's one of the things I want to explore with him. We get a chance to. Let's get back to Kavanaugh. Do you have a Kavanaugh objection before my Kavanaugh objections? We agree on this. This is really good. Yeah. Go ahead.
I pretty much aired all mine. I think he's just going to be a stooge for the conservative Christian agenda. I think he's everything the moral majority could have ever wanted.
No, I think you're wrong. I have a video that I used. In fact, I did before I was asked to get off the air at WBY. I did a 4-part. I didn't even plan to do this. This was a 4-part series on the Supreme Court, and one of the things we focused on was Brett Kavanaugh, and I actually played about 6 or 7 minutes of a speech that he made years ago when he was talking to a friendly audience. This is what you want to do. You want to go back before somebody becomes famous, take a speech before a friendly audience so they really say what they mean.
Yes.
And what he was talking about was he was much more in favor of judicial activism. Okay? And so what he believed in... Is that Luke? Oh, I got the whole crew over there. Oh. Yeah. So we're here for the... Hey, let's say hey Luke on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey Luke! Okay, we're such groupies here.
We are.
Luke, no, it's Peter. I'm sorry, that's Peter Holland. There we go. I always get you two guys confused. Do you want to come on our show? Okay, fine. But we're here if you need us.
We'll get them.
So There's two people who work for Congressman Gaetz, and they look so much alike. We keep at a distance. We keep getting them confused. Peter and Luke. So that's why we're having a little fun here. All right. So back to Kavanaugh. So when he was before this friendly audience, he was talking about a couple of things that he really operates are precedents and stare decisis. If anybody remembers my show, we talked about the stare decisis is the strength of things decided. It's basically precedence. It's a glorified word for precedent. He's really in favor of that. The other thing he's really in favor of is, and I've got it here in my notes somewhere, but I remember it, setting the constitutional limits of the executive and the legislative branch. That's not his job. His job is not to set the limits of what the president can do and what Congress can do. His job is to work within Article 3 to settle disputes within parties. But that's the fault of all the Supreme Court. They're all far too activist. But the idea, he says he will follow procedures and Constitution, except for precedent. If precedent takes over, then it's like, okay, well, that's more important. And one of the things I heard that was shocking, it was on Fox News. And there was a commentator who was saying that little pamphlet that you have for the Constitution, which I happen to carry with me at all times, whereas it's on my ticket for the event here. Well, he says, this guy actually got on Fox News, he says, this isn't the Constitution. What the Constitution really is all the Supreme Court cases and all the interpretations. It's like this 2,000-page book. And that's absolute nonsense. That's not true. That is BS. And I won't tell you the full one, but it's because so even though we're not regulated by the FCC, I still want to maintain some decorum. But the fact is, there are people who honestly believe that Supreme Court case opinions, they're not even laws, their opinions are the law of the land. They're higher than the Constitution. That's absolute nonsense. Kavanaugh's one of those people. He believes once something is decided, it is decided law, it is set law. He believes that's the precedent, that's what you go with, rather than reading the Constitution and seeing what the Constitution says. And that's one of my main objections to Kavanaugh. Got you there, didn't I?
You did.
So we agree on this issue.
We do.
But we disagree. But the things that but it is for completely different reasons. So I would actually, if I had in my power to do a judicial reform, I'd kick out the entire federal judiciary. Anybody who's used judicial review, anybody who's interpreted a law, anybody who has exceeded their constitutional mandate, who's violated their oath to support and defend the Constitution, which means settling cases, within the purview of the Supreme Court, which is state to state, major parties, treaties, things like that. And all the parties and things that they handle, and limiting their decision to those parties. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to make injunctions. They're not supposed to, set immigration policy. They're not supposed to say that, the DACA is the law of the land and the Trump has to enforce it. That's absolute nonsense. Okay. So no, it's not. It's a made-up law by a former president. It has no standing whatsoever. See, this is the thing. We haven't really talked about executive orders yet. But everything how do you feel about that? Everything that Obama basically signed into executive order has been repealed.
I think one of his big mistakes was doing so many executive orders.
Okay.
We talked a little about this last week. I have a lot I'd criticize Obama for.
Okay.
I think he was better off than what we have now, but I think
every conservative who's listening just fell off their chair. Sorry, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, go ahead.
But still, he could have done a lot better.
Okay.
I think he left himself open to have this guy come in and just undo everything he's done. So.
Well, now see, he never expected that to happen.
Yeah.
Everybody expected.
Ultimately, his legacy.
Well, his legacy is that he got it all overturned.
Yeah.
That's his legacy.
Exactly.
But he expected Hillary, and I'll tell you, Newt Gingrich did a thing on it. If Hillary were elected, we'd be in really sad shape. The economy would be just in terrible shape. We wouldn't have these jobs. We wouldn't have these companies coming in. We wouldn't have any of the dealings with North Korea. We wouldn't have the NATO paying their bill. We wouldn't have any of the stuff that's going on now. That's pretty incredible. So you got to bet some good things have been done under Trump. You don't like it. Oh, I got you.
Can I ask you a question about something?
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead. And you are, we got a person, you want to be on camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyhow, talking about Obama and all this, Obama done this big old healthcare thing.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Gave the insurance companies the protocols and the stepping stones of telling them what medications you can and cannot have. Why is it that the insurance companies get to tell you what you can and cannot have, or the prescriptions you can and cannot use when it's given by your doctor who has a medical degree, not your insurance company? But Obama doesn't require you to go and get your personal doctor's information and have your insurance cover it. It's over your insurance.
That's a great question. That's a really good question. Yeah,
got a good audience.
Just like having a live. So, gentlemen here is just joining us, listening into what we're doing. We're recording the show here at the Fish House.
Yes.
This is the Greg and Donny News Show. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Facebook page, and we're here at the Matt Gaetz, Ron DeSantis, and Jim Jordan rally. And this gentleman is just joining the conversation here. So that's a really great question. One of the problems I see with our whole health plan, there's health care and there's health insurance.
Let me give you an example.
All right.
Okay. We can go VA.
Just step a little close to the camera so they can hear you. You don't have to be on camera.
VA just so it's federal.
Okay.
Okay. I got a buddy of mine suffers from cluster headaches.
Okay.
He got them while he was in the military.
So it's a VA issue then.
Somewhat of a VA issue.
Okay.
Okay. There's been numerous studies done on his particular case, and there are
we're gonna have to get you to cut to the chase here.
Well, there's regiments that can be given.
Right.
Medical marijuana is one of those regiments, but the government doesn't allow anybody who is in the VA
use medical
to
marijuana.
use medical marijuana.
You should
and
have
they're pissing everybody, so they're having to take it out of their pocket every time they go get their prescriptions.
Right.
Which is $25 every time they go see a doctor. If they got opiates or
and they don't want an opioid addiction,
they're done.
Yeah. So you got two good questions. So medical. Let's take up medical marijuana just a bit because it's a great question. Congressman Gaetz is actually in favor of changing the schedule so the medical marijuana would also be available for veterans, would be available for everybody. Okay.
It's great for PTSD.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the things he's good on.
Yeah, so and that's
not very many.
And I talked to him about that too on the show, and I asked him if he thought it was a generational thing because he's a younger guy in Congress. He said absolutely.
Right.
So the older people in Congress, they're not in favor of anything marijuana. They go crazy at. But they don't look at it in a logical thing. Now, he's not in favor of recreational marijuana. I personally don't care. My libertarian side says, as long as you're not driving the truck next to me, while you're high, if you want to be in your home, I don't care. Right. Okay, so and that's where.
What's the difference in being high on marijuana versus being high on prescription drugs that the doctor gives you?
That's a good question. Let's say what. Thank you very much. Let me get you to step back just a second.
Go ahead.
You get so many good questions.
Yes.
I want to make sure we get to them. So as I was saying with the first thing, you can respond to this too. And I really appreciate your help. Thank you.
Yes.
What's your first name?
Brandon.
Brandon? So we have Brandon's help today, so we're going to include him in. We're going to start doing live studio audience things as well. We're not in the studio. Live audience stuff, because I think it's more interesting. So as I was starting to say, there's health care. That's your doctor. That's the person that actually gives you the care, doctor, nurse, practitioner, whoever, physical therapist, doesn't matter who it is. So the person that actually gives you care, that's health care. Health insurance is supposed to pay for the health care, but there's a disconnect because you go to the doctor, you get your health care, you have no idea how much it costs, that goes to the health insurance company, and they're paying outrageously to cover people that they have to cover that aren't insured. It comes back to you, you get a ridiculous premium, but you don't know how much the premium is because you don't know how it's related to the health care that you got. So all this stuff, you've got this. Oh, excuse me a second. Sorry, there we go. So we've got this disconnect with the whole system. And what I'd like to do is find a way to sort of coordinate the health care with the health insurance. So you get a bill that you can take to your insurance and say, in other words, if you get a $600 aspirin, I don't want a $600 aspirin. Give me the Tylenol for like, $1.50 or whatever it is. So those are things we can do. So a lot of ways we can, if we can take the waste out, if we can take the duplication out, if we could take the separation out, from doctor to insurance to patient to customer or whatever, that's, I think, is one of the big problems.
Here comes my inner Bernie Sanders. I think we should cut out the middleman entirely here and just go for single-payer health care.
Obamacare, $60 trillion.
Obamacare was itself a disaster because
that's interesting for you to admit.
That he compromised way too much with the Republicans.
But is that why it's a disaster?
They were able to kill the public option. They were able to kill a lot of the good stuff. And therefore, the people it was designed to help, like people with pre-existing conditions, Obamacare was great for. But because of everything else that was killed, Obamacare has been a disaster. Like I know my family personally has had some problems because of it that we would not have under a single-payer system.
I've talked about that. I had a health insurance agent on as one of my guests earlier. He's from California. It's back when I was on the radio. It was fascinating to listen to the gun ads and the church ads and everything else we had out here. It was funny. But that's the thing. It's a matter of delivering the health care in the best and most efficient way possible. So you're absolutely right. The system as Obama designed it And that's the problem with any, one government solution. This is the problem I have with it. But the problem was it did the way that they wanted to pay for it was to force young people to pay for more health insurance than they wanted. And the way the health insurance guy explained to me is really simple. He says, look, if for like pregnancy and childbirth, which is horrendously expensive, no matter how you do it. What's that?
50,000. I've had 3.
Wow. So childbirth is incredibly expensive. If only the people who wanted childbirth coverage would pay for it, it'd be astronomically expensive. It'd be ridiculous. It'd be like $50,000 per person. You have to pay the whole cost yourself.
Right.
Whereas if people say, well, I'm not going to have a kid. I'm 50 years old. I don't need this kind of coverage. But, and this is where I agree with you, insurance is a shared pool. I had a horrendously expensive open heart surgery. Okay, I couldn't have afforded 6 lifetimes. I couldn't have paid for that. Okay, but there's a shared. But I paid in all those years, in health insurance to be able to get that now.
Okay,
So that's
on your insurance. You go to a doctor, you pay out of pocket $150 for an appointment.
Right.
You cover insurance, you pay let's say a copay of $25. That doctor is going to charge your insurance company $300. Why is there different ratios? Because I get the bill from my insurance company that the doctor sent them, and I got to pay what they didn't cover. But I also paid copay.
Yeah.
And that's where the insurance companies get their double dipping.
So and I can't solve the healthcare problems right now.
I understand.
And that's not. But I want Donny to get back to his point that you think there would be a workable system that would be completely covered.
It would be.
Okay. How would that work?
I mean, it's working pretty well in a bunch of other places, and you could make the point, well, they don't have as many people. Exactly. We have more people paying into the system.
Okay.
I mean, really, if we cut some of our more unnecessary programs, I'm with you on cutting unnecessary spending and put that money into things that matter, healthcare, education, things that benefit all of us instead of just certain people. I mean, I think we could have a good system there.
My problem is, I'm going to ask you a moral dilemma question in a minute. My problem is that the bigger the government program, the more it's federalized, the worse the problems because the less it caters to the individual.
Affordability.
Hold on a second.
Insurance, man.
No,
affordability.
we're done with you. Brandon, thank you very much. Appreciate your contributions, but you're done. All right. So the question is whether you'd be better off with 50 state programs or even county programs. Or, what the conservative response would be, all right, the problems we have now, part of the reason it's so expensive, I can't buy health insurance out of state. This is like Florida Blue. There's like a very limited amount of things that you can do. We don't have the state laboratories, of every state. You figure every state's a laboratory, every state experiments, and every state has a way to cater to their people more. I can't imagine that Florida and California, for example, 2 places I've lived, would have the same health program.
Right.
Yeah, I think California's would be more expensive, but if people are willing to pay the additional taxes to cover it, that's not a problem. And you know that going in before you move there, that's the system you either accept it or you don't. So I don't want to see a national system, but here's my moral dilemma, and I've asked this of liberals and conservatives. I don't mind a government paying plan if it's going to work and give quality care and not result in rationing. Because the other end of the extreme is you go to the countries where it's sort of working, like it's not working that well in Canada, it's not working that well in England, it's not working that well in a lot of countries because of what's happening, because it's too expensive and they're having to ration. And so that's the only way they can get around it. All right.
Well, there's also other issues at play there in those other countries. Of course, and I'm going to make my liberal friends mad here, but mass immigration is a bit of an issue there.
It is an issue.
Particularly in Europe.
Well, no, illegal aliens in this country. If we're paying health insurance for illegal aliens, what's the point of that?
Right.
we have more people joining us here.
We do.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. There we go. So you guys, you want to join in our conversation real quick? I can take one question from you, or you don't have to. This is the Greg and Donny News Show. We do a conservative and liberal newscast, and we're going to be here for the rally. And so if you want to listen in and see what all we're doing, we're broadcasting on Facebook Live, and we have the Greg and Donny News Show. So you can probably pick it up right now. And if you guys have a question, feel free. Brandon had a lot of questions. That's why I kicked him out.
Will it affect your...
I don't think so. What, if you ask a question from there? No.
Will it affect, like, the radio frequency?
No, it shouldn't. No, we got a camera, we got other stuff going. We're just rambling. We're having a good time. All right. We got thunder going off. We had rain before. We had a big frog down there squawking away. We've had all kinds of interruptions. It's been quite fascinating. But that's what we're doing here. So look up Greg and Donny News Show. In fact, all you folks too. The Greg and Donny News Show.
Greg and Donny News Show.
Not the guys from Pennsylvania that stopped a year ago. That's you know, that's a little bit different. But anyway, but that's how it's working. So yeah. So healthcare. So the moral dilemma. And I've thought about this. Would it be worth giving up our foreign military bases? Okay. All corporate welfare, all aid to illegal aliens, including education, and get rid of as much waste and duplication in the government as we can for a truly good healthcare program. Would you make that trade-off?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it would. Sure enough. See, folks, the same thing.
The idea of us providing for illegals, we've gotten to that a little bit. That's exaggerated. I'll give you a happens sometimes, but
no, it's not.
They're not on welfare.
We had Ray. What's Ray's name?
Ray Guillory.
Ray Guillory was sitting right here, and I asked him point blank. He's running for Escambia County School Board. I asked him point blank, "Do you have illegal aliens in school?" He would not give me a direct answer.
He doesn't know.
Oh, of course. He should. But actually, they're mandated by Supreme Court decision, which is why I don't like the Supreme Court. You know, that's the case Plyler versus Doe. That's the case, okay? That mandates that illegal aliens be educated in our schools. So what Congress has to do, but after Congressman Gaetz about this for a long time, has to overturn that Supreme Court decision because it's a policy, it's a law. You can overturn it on the grounds that they had no power to make that policy in the first place because they went outside the case that they were deciding, and the fact that they have no constitutional authority to make law anyway. That's how I put it. Yeah. All right. Brett Kavanaugh. I haven't finished my Kavanaugh yet. Rubio break. Should we tell me what a Rubio break is?
Yeah.
For those who are listening to us new.
Well, Marco Rubio in the past gave a little statement.
State of the Union.
State of the Union. And took frequent water breaks. I mean, every 5 seconds.
Poor man.
Chugging it down.
Yeah.
And now we do it.
So we call them Rubio breaks. All right. So. And we've shut down here a little bit. It's going to start to get crowded here. Just to let you know again, so for our live broadcast especially, we're at the Fish House. We're here in Pensacola. We're right by the water. It's a huge restaurant complex. The rally is going to be in the room off to our right here at 10 o'clock. And so we have Congressman Ron DeSantis, who I interviewed. It was my last interview before I was taken off the air. So that's really cool. We had, who else do we have? We've got Congressman Matt Gaetz is running for his seat again. And we have Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio, who's, and this is all part of their Freedom campaign they're doing. Freedom something, I forgot what it's called. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Details, right? Freedom. So we're going to go from here to Tampa, from Tampa to somewhere else, and it's going to be a full day. But we're catching the early show here, and that's why we're broadcasting from here in the rain at the Fish House. It's really cool, and so they're nice of the folks here to let us do that. And so, yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Greg and Donny News Show, and listen to our Facebook page, and that's what's going on. Yeah. The last, a couple more things. We got to get into plastic straws. I want to do that just for fun. But I want to finish up on Kavanaugh. So we were talking about Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. One of the other things I object to most strongly about him, again, talking about supreme government power over the rights of the individual, when it came to the Patriot Act, there was, the Patriot Act allows for warrantless searches. They don't have to have the judge's signature. Right. Kavanaugh was in favor of that. I think he might have authored that thing or approved it in a decision. So that's wrong. I'm against him for that. The other big one, there was a case where these FBI folks were spying on this guy. He was contacting folks in Italy. They thought it was some like Italian terrorist plot. It turned out the guy was talking to his book agent. He was trying to get book rights, you know, for his book over in Italy. But they're spying on him. And Kavanaugh, the case came before Kavanaugh, is unlawful spying on a domestic citizen. They didn't have approval for that. And Kavanaugh said, oh, that's okay, you know, because it didn't result in a prosecution. That's not how it works. That's not our system. Our system is due process, innocent until proven guilty. Right. You have to have, and here's the general question for you. You know, and it comes to, are you willing to trade safety you know, trade some of your rights for safety? I'm not.
So that's a very big question.
Where do you come down on that? How much safety are you willing to give up to maintain security? You know, I'm not saying how many. I said that wrong. Excuse me. How many rights? How much of your rights are you willing to have infringed upon, so that we don't have a terrorist attack?
I mean, I just always thought this whole idea that there's a fine line between freedom and safety. There's really not. I think there is a bit of overkill, and they do need to tone that back a little. But I don't think the idea that anything that's supposed to keep us safe has to be something that gives up our freedom. I think the Patriot Act, all that, terrible.
See, the ACLU used to be against the Patriot Act.
They still are.
But they're not as vocal about it. Why have they come out against Kavanaugh? In that regard or different regards?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into it.
Okay. Do that for next week.
I know as we get closer, they're going to start really hammering down on him.
But this is something to think about. For conservatives especially, I want you to think about the fact that here's a guy, you know, and take a look at, and in fact, I know the Democrats are trying to get his opinions and things like that, but here's someone that is willing to violate our constitutional rights in order to, as he says, allegedly go after terrorists, and I'm not willing to do that, because law enforcement in a free society is difficult, if not damn near impossible.
Right.
But that's the way we like it. We want innocent until proven guilty. We don't want prior restraint. We don't want you to be arrested for what you might do. Gun control is prior restraint. We're going to take away your guns so you can't use them illegally. Well, that's wrong. That's it. That's guilty until proven innocent. That's prior restraint. That's like a general warrant. We're going to say you're all guilty until you can show that you're innocent, and that doesn't work.
I'm guilty on that.
And Kavanaugh's the same way, and I don't like that. You know, but I was thinking too about this. You know, here's something I've been saying since this morning. In a dictatorship, law enforcement's really easy. Okay, you got 10 people you think are guilty. You just shoot them all. That way you know you got the guilty person. All right, but you've killed 9 innocent people. That's how a dictatorship works. We're not that. So our system. I was talking to a friend of mine about this recently. Our system is not designed to protect the guilty. It's designed to protect the innocent.
Yes.
You know, better that the guilty go free, abusing the system, than the innocent person go to jail. You know, to having their rights violated.
I think
and so that's where I have those rights. You know, so that's where I come down with Kavanaugh.
All right. Well, before we do plastic straws, there's one we gotta do.
Do you guys have an issue you want us to talk about? Okay. We have a live audience today, which is kind of cool.
We gotta do Omarosa.
Omarosa. All right. Now, I'm not as familiar with her other than the fact that she's amazingly opportunist.
Yes.
You know, she's taking advantage of the fact that she's black and female to scream racism and sexism. What if she were a white guy? Yeah, would anybody care? Now here's the thing on Omarosa. The media, when she was a loyal Trump employee, you know, one of the first or you know, few number of black female employees in the Trump administration, proving he's not racist and sexist or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I don't do groups. Groups don't matter to me. But anyway, it does to the media. They never talked about her. It's only when she left the media. You know, left the Trump administration, and they said, oh, well, so now that she doesn't like Trump, now they're all being opportunists and saying, oh, come on our networks, we want to hear all about you. So it's not the fact that she's, you know, has anything great to say. It's the fact that she's toting the liberal line. She's sort of doing what the media wants her to say.
Now, my concern here is, how can this administration be so disorganized that she got her phone into the Situation Room? I mean, do you know how many people could have died as a result of that? If someone had hacked her phone while she was in there at another time?
Yep.
Who knows how many times she had in there, what was discussed, who might have gotten in there. How did... I mean, these were supposed to be the big law and order guys. You know, they're supposed to bring honor and integrity back. And she got her phone.
I mean, there wasn't any honor and integrity in the Obama administration. Sorry, I couldn't resist. No, you're absolutely right. I am surprised. We have our moments here, okay? But I am surprised that the security was as bad as it was. She should not have been able to make that recording. Why don't they check the phones when you go in the door?
Exactly.
You know, and I think, well, I wonder if there's a certain, and this happens to any president, there's a certain aura, the regal president. We don't want to question the president, but the president needs people to question. He needs that person to say, look, you're being a jerk, dude, and not on camera, you know, but behind the scenes say, like, this is totally wrong. You're totally blowing it here. This person should have been checked out, or with the security clearances, we needed to get rid of these months ago. You need people that are willing to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I think that the case with the security stuff with Omarosa may be something that they weren't as careful as they should have been, because they didn't want to upset the man. And somebody dropped the ball big time on that she should not have been able to not only not record it, but not even get a phone into a secret briefing. That's what I think. Any more on Omarosa? She's not a big topic with me.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, but my whole thing is just the whole phone in the Situation Room. I mean, who knows how many people have been able to do that?
Well, unless they need it for a specific job, unless they're on call. But they can still leave their phones outside. Someone can come in and get them.
Specifically banned in there. Because even if the phone's not on, it can be hacked. They can listen in.
That's true.
Any enemy of America could have very easily taken advantage of that.
No, you're absolutely right.
So this is a big concern for me with this administration.
Well, it was more of a concern with all 30,000 Hillary's emails.
Right.
Because now here's what people don't remember about that.
I'll give you this. That was a concern.
It was a huge concern.
Yeah.
She specifically took her email off the official archive because she didn't want a public record of what she was doing. Okay. Now, what does that say? What does that say? That she wanted to hide everything that was going on. So that's the problem that people keep forgetting. That's the big issue. Anyway, it's about 9:16. We're going to have people gathering around here pretty soon. Let's get to the most important issue of our day: plastic straws. Nicely done. All right. So, go ahead. I'm going to take a Rubio break.
All right. Well, this is one of those things where I think it's genius. I think the people who are responsible for all the environmental disasters have successfully gotten it to where we blame the individual instead of the corporations, the bigwigs, who are themselves responsible.
So not blaming the plastic straw manufacturers.
Yes.
Or the blaming the individuals who use them.
Yeah.
Do you think they should be illegal?
I'm really undecided on it. I think the whole thing is kind of dumb. I think we're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
We're focusing on the straws themselves and not the fact that, wow, there's a pretty big issue happening there.
Well, plastic is an issue. What I always look to the manufacturer to make a compostable.
Yes.
Compostable? You know what I'm trying to think of, right? There's biodegradable, which can take years, and there's compostable, which has to be done within 90 days. And so if plastic could go into a landfill and be completely broken down in a short period of time, that seems to me to be the most logical. Because here's the irony. Plastic straws, you know, are now wrapped in paper.
Yeah.
The paper straws are wrapped in plastic to protect them. So you've gone from plastic straws to plastic straw wrappers. Have you really accomplished anything? You know, California, when I was there, they took out the plastic bags. You couldn't use plastic bags in grocery stores anymore. So now you have these reusable ones, which is great until you spill food in them. Then all the bacteria builds up. Those are actually less safe than a plastic bag. And we used to have, at our store, we used to be able to return the plastic bags. You could take your plastic bag, and I would do it. I'd keep them, I'd throw them in the car, so that when I got to the grocery store, oh, my bags. So I walk into the store, drop off my plastic bags from the previous week, go and get fresh plastic bags, bring them home, put them in one bag, store them, bring them back next week, and it was no big deal. So we actually could recycle them. And they were clean. It was good for the storage, and they weren't wasted because they went back and be recycled. That makes infinitely more sense to me than banning. Because now you're just going to get black market plastic. There'll be like clandestine little old dairy places out there, and all kinds of, you know, it's like, you know, plastic straws here. It's like the place where you can still smoke, you know, so that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I sometimes see environmentalism as a solution in search of a problem, where so much has been done correctly. You know, you guys did a good job, and I was one of them. I was Green Party way back when too. The environment is cleaner. I mean, the rain coming down, it's not bad. You don't hear acid rain being talked about anymore, okay? You don't see rivers catching fire. The cars are like 98% cleaner than they were 20 years ago. You know, so all these things are being done, and they're being done well. So now the plastic straws, it's like I say, it's a problem. But the United States isn't really, like as usual, the United States is not really the big problem. It's all the other places. It's China. But they don't care. That's where the real problem is. And so that's what I see is happening there.
Well, I think we need to be leading the world in environmental development.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of times that'll come as a cost, like the Kyoto Accords and the Paris Climate Change Accords. Okay,
Never should have left.
Of course you should have left, because the only people who were going to go along with it were us. We were the ones who were going to have to suffer all the penalties. We were the ones who were going to pay the billions of dollars to all these other countries. It was like a welfare transfer, is what it was. So the problem is you can't have environmentalism that punishes the United States exclusively. We can lead by example, but we don't have to become uncompetitive in the process and give away billions of our dollars to somebody else. That would be the conservative approach. Liberal approach is, oh, we have to go along with the rest of the world. We're one world. We're all in this together. No, we're not. We're an independent, sovereign country with borders, and we ought to keep it that way. On that note, I'm done. We have more we can do next week.
We do.